practices that make the school district possible. Our education system in Cameron, we have almost 60% of the kids in the Cameron school district, 1,600 kids that are not grade level proficient in reading, mathematics, or science. That number is at a nearly 40-year low. It's bad, very bad. And I would like to see the priority of the Cameron school district get back to the fundamentals and to increase the proficiency rate of our children, and for the school board to be accountable to the public, not the school district.
Thank you very much, Keith. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything I can add that he left out. He's and our friends, right, full disclosure. We've been working on this, trying to affect positive change in the school district for over a year. And so long as I've known him, we met because of this. And we basically instantly became allies because we share the same vision. And unfortunately, it's not the school's vision. You know, we truly have a passion for including the kids' education. If you look at the Cameron School District's vision statement, it actually says that they're more concerned about their experience than they are about their education. It's in black and white, it's in writing, it's in the student handbook. You go online, their district's website, click on handbook, it's right there. It's like a page three. First page is a welcome letter from Dr. Robinson. Next one is their vision statement. Anyway, so Heath and I, you'll notice tonight that we're very much aligned. We may differ on a few things, like everybody differs on a few things, but the core, the primary things that we will probably talk about tonight, we'll probably agree on, which is great. I mean, you know, again, we're teammates, and actually we'll be teammates with anyone in the public that wants to improve these things in the school district. So please come, you know, welcome aboard, come with us. We're going to explain some things tonight to the public that you may or may not know. You can't always believe everything you read in the paper, and or read online. Actually, you know about the rumor mill on Facebook, right? We and I actually got that. So hopefully tonight we can clarify some things, maybe dispel some rumors, and maybe educate folks on some of the real goings on behind the scenes that you don't know about. So thanks for having us tonight, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well thrown out. Pretty good tonight. I'm not going to run a running clock. I don't think I need to run a clock. But if they get going too long, I got to go. No, it ain't finished. You don't get work. Right. Okay, that's what that's for.
Should we mark that?
Yeah. Well, I'm throwing it now. No minus.
Okay.
All right. At this time, I'll turn it over to the floor. Anyone that has a question, please raise your hand. And he'll come around with the microphone up here. Before us. Right here. No, he's got the microphone for you.
Yes, I'd like to know this. That's unfortunate. I'd like to know if you know if anyone on the board of education has background.
Yes, actually, Dan Kircher, he's going off, but he was a superintendent previously in another school district. He has a doctorate in education. Ann Goodwin Clark, who used to be a teacher. I believe that she was music band or something. Yes. And just got elected, so she's got another 2 years in that position.
Yeah, that's although I have worked with teachers, I have also worked with the school. And I'm wondering from the things I have witnessed, who's driving the car? Because there are some things that I come from Johnson County, Kansas, which has some of the most successful public school districts in the nation. And the practices they do there are not being done. And so I just have this question about who is making decisions. And I have specific questions I would have for the board of education. For instance, I have mentioned social promotion, which is egregious, because I work with kids who are the result of having been promoted socially. And the adults, when they come to adults and they start in the workforce and they can't be hip hop, it's terrible because they never got help. And they could not build a primary, it wasn't a primary. Another thing is curriculum management. Is maybe done here, I did not see it. So let's consider.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
So, of course, I'm outside looking in, and I can only know as much as they give. My understanding that all of the curriculum is coming from the state revenue, so both desk, the Department of Operations, Secretary. Yes, ma'am. And our school board defers directly in almost everything that I have witnessed to the superintendent. Anything that comes up, they ask him what it's going to be, and he tells them and they support it. It was a couple of months ago that the president of the Board of Education was talking about training that she had been to, and the school board, Missouri School Board Association did that training. And she was relaying the story about how they gave an example of they need to look at the school district as if they're in the helicopter from 10,000 feet. They look down on what's going on in the school district, and they allow all the people that are involved, the people they hire, to do their jobs. They shouldn't be in the building. They shouldn't have their hands on and asking questions. They need to trust the professionals, the people that are educated, and allow them to do their job. And I disagree. I think that if the school board isn't, if they don't understand how bad the kids poorly the kids read, that they're not going to understand how bad the education is. The test, the standardized testing that they take, even though they're coming back bad, it really doesn't reflect how poorly the children read. The only way they'd be able to do that is sign in at the front desk of the school, slipped in the back of the class and sat down and they listened to the kids read. Then they would understand where the education sits. And only if they understand where we truly are in our education can they say, okay, here's where we need to go. What can we do to change this? That standardized test score, when it comes back, it looks wonderful. But the reality, the result on that paper is not what we see in reality.
Yes. Who's next?
Were the other candidates notified to be here? Did anyone reach out to them?
Well, okay. Man,
Please.
okay. They were, three, I think via Facebook, four via Facebook, and one via internet, email. However, it is possible that, I guess you can send a message to someone and they not read it or open it or whatever. So, because I've already had one of the candidates from Berkeley contact me and said, hey, I don't appreciate the fact that you guys are having this event and you committed me, but you didn't invite me. And so we explained to him that check your inbox or whatever, you get the inbox there. We have the proof, I mean, the
Right.
screenshot of the message that was sent. So about a week ago, I think, is when we set these up. Now, granted, we could have and should have given more notice. This event kind of came up, not spur of the moment, but not with a whole lot of planning. And here's what happened. Back in December, I think, Dan Kircher on the school board, current board member who's retiring, made a comment to us, the candidates, that because I think you were asking about conducting a debate. We wanted to use the auditorium in the school. That's a great place for it. And anyway, he made a comment about getting with some retired teachers or something and putting this thing. Well, that was December, right? December.
It was December
Right, and, you know, and sometimes the clock's ticking, you know, the election's April 2nd, first Tuesday of April. And so we got tired of waiting on the school. So we decided to take the bull by the horns, you know, and we'll do it ourselves. And so it was kind of like that. That's how this whole thing came about. And so, and it is true, I'm friends with Richie, and it is true, I'm friends with Al. And, you know, the guys that are putting this on. But nothing's scripted, right? You know, we are the most transparent people you'll ever see. Matter of fact, we're so transparent, we're almost translucent.
Oh, trannies.
And,
Oh.
but, so that's how this thing came about. And why we're here, because we believe it's important that people know what's going on, what we stand for, and how we intend to fix the problems that we've identified. So, you know, and just because we've identified it as a problem, doesn't mean the public will identify it as a problem, right? Because we don't all agree, and that's fine. But we should be able to discuss our differences, discuss the issues, and this is a great forum to do that. Yes, ma'am.
One of members works at school. My husband that agrees with the others not because they wanted to be paid. They did not do it.
I saw that on Facebook, somewhere on Facebook, and,
I posted it.
okay, all right, very good. You know, and
Which is,
now I know, look,
we're trying to break it, hear anything from the Ruby Creek.
that's the idea, because, again, you know, we want the best man or woman to win. It's not about, you know, clicks or, you know, who you're friends with or who you go to church with. It's not about that. I mean, it's not the good old boys club. I mean, not the way we look at it. I think it kind of is currently, but not the way we look at it. So it's not about that. You know, we invite those folks who want them to be here. We would love to do another one. Again, it's just, this is an opportunity for the public. We know the public. We're asking for your vote. We're asking for your support. Okay? And then those are huge. And so we feel that we owe you an opportunity to know us, to know what we stand for. And that way, if we get elected and then we don't follow through, then you can hold us accountable. Yes. The school has a serious accountability problem. No one wants to be accountable for their decisions, their actions, their votes, anything. And that was, I think that was the most disheartening part of this whole, our whole ordeal with the school district. No one will admit fault, no one will admit they're wrong, no one will take responsibility. So this is how you hold us accountable. Okay, you nail us down on the issues, we're on, right? We're on video, so we can't say, oh, I didn't say that. I'm on the tape, right? So it's that. We want to be transparent, and this is how we do it.
Question for each one of you guys. Teen suicide rate in this country, second to the best. 12 teens commit suicide every day. 1 every 2 hours. Okay. If you are appointed to the position, and I use that word, but what's some of the things you guys are going to do to help stop it? It's not as prevalent a camera as in some of the places, but it does happen. What would you two say you're going to do to help stop it?
Who do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Social media is, I think, the worst, the most influential part of teen suicide. You know, and it's been reported that in the Cameron School District, that there is a bullying problem, specifically with kids using phones, taking pictures of other kids going to the bathroom. They reach under the stall, take pictures. They post it on whatever social media platforms that they use, and now all of a sudden it's out there. Okay, that's unnecessary and it's uncalled for, it's wrong. But the school, for whatever reason, I don't know all the details because again, it's a personnel matter and the school won't release the information. And, you know, and we're outsiders, so we're not privy to that information. Except we know it's talking to parents that it happens. So I suggest that why do kids have phones in school anyway? If they're there to learn from the teacher, they don't need their.
I work at the school, and at my school, we have a very strict, I mean, when you don't have to record me. We have a very strict no cell phone policy.
Actually,
I can't speak about the other schools, but I know at my school, we have that. I work at CVMS, okay? Very strict.
the Cameron veterans.
Cameron Veterans Middle School.
So can I ask you though, to clarify, please? Is your policy that they can't have them in class at all, or they just have to be put up?
They have to be put up. They have to be in their locker, in their backpack, whatever. They have to be put up.
Right.
So, I mean, do kids put it in their pocket? Probably. You know, kids are gonna break rules. Adults break rules. But at our school, no phones. I can't speak for the other schools,
Sure.
but that's the school I work at.
I took a tour in the high school, right here in the high school, over the summer, the assistant superintendent and the, school board president, Van Mice. But Valerie Utek and Van Mice were the leaders of this tour. And it was it's an open house. I don't know if y'all remember this. It was advertised. And come look at our school, you know, they spent $8.whatever million on, a performing arts center, and they were showing it off their product because it's a nice place. And so, I was born in attendance, and so I went into this, you know, and they took us along the, you know, different places, you know, to show us all the amenities, and trust me, it is nice. They also took us into some classrooms, because they added some classrooms, reworked some classrooms. I'm not sure how that went, but anyway, they redid some stuff in the new part of this building, and so they took us on a tour of that. And in some of those classes, they had, like sleeves against the wall. Right, exactly, right, like you'd see in a closet, where you put your shoes and stack them on the wall. And I asked about that, and they said that that was for that. They were all numbered, so each child was assigned a number. They put the phone in there, okay, you know, check it in, check it out type deal. When you come in, your phone goes in there, and then when you leave, you take it with you. And so but they also said, no, it's up to the teacher of the class to make that decision. So it's not a school policy, it's a teacher policy.
And I can speak to that. When I worked at the high school, the kids use their phones in their lessons. On the front. They also have phone book. To work on it. So they were using their phones.
Appropriately.
Teachers, guidance, most of them, if you walk around with things in the games.
Right. Look, kids are gonna be kids, you know, and that's just how it is. We don't know that, we're all kids. But, this is controversial, folks. I'm glad y'all are sitting down. I proposed a policy where, it's like an anti-drug policy. If drugs aren't allowed anywhere on campus. Well, I say student phones aren't allowed anywhere. And again, it sounds draconian, it sounds harsh, it sounds cruel. But I think it's necessary, A, to cut down on the bullying, and B, to improve student attention. But everybody's attached to this thing, and I get it. You know, it's a great tool if used properly, but in school, it's a huge distraction, I think. And so, you know, as a school board candidate, I would like to see a policy. Okay, leave them in your car or leave them. Get a car animal, you know, it doesn't come into school, like the drugs.
Bullying. I agree with a lot. Again, the bullying in the Cameron School District is a continuing problem. And I believe that the bullying, to answer your question, is why this is bullying in schools. In the little more than a year now, we've been attending the board meetings and speaking at the board meetings. We have had many members from the community reach out to us with their concerns about what's going on in the school district. We had one family that ended up leaving the Cameron School District and went to another district because of what was going on. They told us about a sharing folder that these boys are accessing on their phones on some type of social media, where they're getting pictures, inappropriate pictures of female students, and they catalog them in this group folder. And sometimes they are even in their class, and they're getting notification of a new picture, and they're getting into the folder to see the new girl from the school that has pictures in this group folder. And, that is part of the problem. We have had staff members in the Cameron School District that have reached out to us because their own children in the Cameron School District are getting bullied. And of course, we are on the outside looking in. I can't confirm any of these things. These people seem very sincere. I have to take them at their word. Some of these issues are indeed going on. I don't know how to stop the bullying, but I believe that I understand at least part of the reason why it goes on and is ignored. Bullying is a distraction in the classroom, which also contributes to the low test scores. If it's going on in the class, it's a discipline problem for the teachers. The teachers have to deal with it. The kid is getting bullied, so the child is not paying attention to the schoolwork, and everything is going to suffer. I believe that it's all related. And I think part of the problem why the bullying issue goes on is because the school district gets paid by the day for every child that's sitting in the seats. And it is the priority of the district to keep that money coming in because of the debt and the salaries. And that is a concern. We still didn't give the teachers and staff. We didn't pay the teachers more money on it. Our teachers put up with way too much. They don't get enough for it.
Can I, excuse me, one more thing that kind of, it plays into this. And he's not talking about this. I mean, this is that conversation we had just a few days ago. You know, if you're going to talk about taking a kid's phone out of class, then you know, you also need to put cameras in the classroom. Because some parents are concerned that maybe a student will bully them, maybe the teacher will bully them. And so they want their child to have a camera, right? The phone is a camera. They want their child to have a camera. That way, if they can, you know, if somebody's shooting on them, they can collect evidence. Well, so he really even talked about it. If we feel, or at least I feel, I'll speak for myself. If you're going to take a kid's phone, then they should at least be on video cameras in the classroom. Now, I've presented this idea to the school district publicly and privately in conversations with the superintendent. They are staunch meetings. And I still don't exactly know why. I was never really given a good reason why. Oh, you know, but again, I know it's not because of the cost. They just spent 8 point whatever million on a new building. So it's not the cost of the system. So there's other reasons they don't want this in there. So, and school, if I'm elected, I will work to further that, to get these cameras in classrooms and then try to eliminate the phones from the classrooms and see how our scores improve from there.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
First a comment, we have cameras on the school bus.
Oh, you're right.
Yes,
And so everything that goes on the school bus. Secondly, there was a very good teacher, some excellent teachers. And he said, I was very good. But the problem is, my first question to you guys is for the things that may be out there, what can you do to affect change?
What can we do to affect change?
If you're elected to the school board,
We are only one vote. So it's going to take a majority of the board to agree with us in a position to be able to make a change. If we are the single voice, there is nothing that we can do.
because other sides, what was voted on in the votes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I think and more the time.
Yes.
I'll add to that. If you go look at the minutes on the school board meetings, you go to the minutes, okay? Every time they take a vote that's recorded in the minutes, you'll notice it's a 7-0 vote. It's unanimous. Every time. There is no dissent. Regardless of what the subject is, there is no one that disagrees with whatever they're talking about. It's like something. And I don't go for that. You know, I'm an independent thinker. I know he is. You know, and you know, whatever decisions are made need to be weighed. You know, you don't just go along to get along. I mean, that's it seems like that's what's happening, although it's not the right way to conduct business. And you know, not if you're trying to serve the public. So you know, if I get elected or he gets elected or we both get elected, you know, you're going to see, you know, different scores there. And it's going to be 7-0 continuously like it has. And again, and this is not, yes, ma'am.
Okay, first and foremost, I want to say that I appreciate your guys' openness. okay? I may not agree with everything that you say, but I appreciate your efforts, and I commend you both for that. I mean, that takes a great amount of courage to stand up in what you're doing. So I commend you both for that, and I thank you for that. Here's what I have to say. Again, working in the school, this is what I see. Okay, first and foremost, change has to start at home. Parents and grandparents and family and neighbors have to create a world in which they can love and nurture their kids and
Amen.
teach their kids at home to be loving and kind and da 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 da. And I was a stay-at-home mom for as long as I could be. And believe me, I tried to do that to my kids. But at the same time, kids are human. And they're going to be big needs, and they're going to be bullies, and they're going to do this and that. But they're choosing to do that. We can be as loving and kind and genuine as we want to be, and we can teach our kids right from wrong, and we can teach them to have empathy, and all of that is great. But ultimately, they have free will to make their choice. That's what I got to say about that. Then second, I appreciate you saying that you're there for the taxpayer, and I'm a taxpayer also, and I work for the school, and I've had all three of my kids in Cameron School. Okay, I love it. It's great. I love this community. But why is it that you only want to work for the taxpayer and not for the students or the teachers? Or you keep saying that you're for the taxpayer, but there's more than just the taxpayer. There's parents, and there's the kids. You know, like.
Good point. Good point.
And then we at school or the school board or whoever, we can have all the programs that we want to teach our kids to be kind. We can have all the people that we want to teach our kids to be kind. But I'm sorry, I'm getting nervous about what I'm saying. But we got to make sure that we're doing our part to teach our kids. But then they choose to do what they're going to do. No matter how many programs we have, no matter whatever. Kids are still going to be kids. I mean, that's just the way that they are. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but things have to start at home. You know, and then this is my next thing about cameras in the classroom. It's probably a confidentiality thing. You know, there's kids that are in foster care. You know, they can't be on camera where anybody can see them. Not practical. I mean, the thought of it is great to keep people accountable, but it's not practical. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, yes, ma'am. And see, this was all brought up at a school board meeting. And that very question came up, you know, that there are certain children, like we just said, kids with IEPs, kids with other disabilities, and things like that. So my suggestion really was, that, you know, the camera system that I'm envisioning is audio and video, and it is not live stream. Okay, so no one, like I can't sit at home on my computer and tap into the school's video system. Okay, I can't watch these kids, you know, perverts would, you know, would enjoy that, you know, watching the kids all day long. That's not what we're talking about. This is closed caption. Okay, this is like in courthouses. This is like in police stations. This is like in.
But there's a difference between a courthouse and a police station and a school classroom.
But the camera systems are similar, is what I'm saying. These camera systems, okay, they're only to be used to record events if something happens. Whether it's a shooting incident, whether it's a bullying incident, whether it's a teacher that's talking about the kids. Or, you know, who knows what.
I'd like to point out that your plan that you'd like to see implemented would be no different than the cameras on the buses. If foster kids are allowed to ride school buses and cameras are there is no difference.
That makes sense. That and for the foster children, if it's public, if it's provided publicly.
I don't know about the foster kids, so I'm just saying, for example.
I used to work for me and I had to do this.
I understand what you're saying, that makes sense.
Also, the school board is concerned with the education of all their children. Absolutely, services aspect of it. And the one problem that has come up so much in schools, and teachers are so concerned about social engineering or social services, they're forgetting their function is to teach reading, writing, arithmetic.
But again, that has to start at home.
Yes.
That has to be,
I agree totally.
that has to be, I mean, kids can't come home from school at 3:30 and then they're on their electronics until they go to bed at night. parents and families have to foster, hey, we're gonna read for 20 minutes before we go to bed. Hey, we're gonna make sure that your homework is done and it's turned in on time. Parents have to be accountable for those things also.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that at all. You're absolutely right about that. But there is more education than.
Can I ask you,
Just a second, guys. This is beautiful, but it's kind of keeping things they actually can control. But of course, I'm going home, they have no authority and power. What goes on at their house. Not being mean, so, I want to know what they want to do in their job. So we'll move on, not being mean. Yes, sir.
I'm Jamie Honeycutt from the Clinton County League, and I'd like to ask a couple of questions, but I want to make sure everybody here has a chance to get their questions answered first. I have about 3 questions.
Take it first. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. My first question, the camera idea, that you looked into this, any idea how much something like that would cost to handle? No. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Second, I heard you mention it, and I'd like to ask how you feel about it. A need for higher teacher pay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I agree.
I hear that a lot, and I'm not saying I don't agree. Where is that money going to come from? Because I also know that we're taxed enough already. And so, do you have an idea? It's great to say teachers need to make more money. Where is it going to come from, in your opinion?
I think the budget needs a serious look at. I believe that there is a lot of things that we spend money on that is unnecessary and just absolutely wasteful.
Any specifics?
I can give you an absolute specific. There was a gentleman that worked at the salvage yard here in Denver. And the school district brought a bunch of desks in to dispose of because they just bought brand new desks. Laid them out and they took a picture of all the desks that the school district threw away. It's absolutely nothing wrong. And it is my assumption, I was in the military for a while. At the end of the year, you have money left in the budget. Either you spend that money or you lose the money the following year. And I am sure that if we got into the budget and we looked at how things are spent, that we could find money and change where it goes to. And I can give you another example. The superintendent received an almost $18,000 annual pay raise at the Cameron School District this year. His contract, which I have read, says his pay will be based upon his annual performance review. The school district is full of 1,600 children with nearly 60% of the kids that are not grade level proficient. How are they determining that a man that has only 40% of the kids that can read at grade level needs an $18,000? I think teachers should get that money, not the superintendent. The teacher needs to get the money so that we encourage the qualified, the great teachers to come to our district to increase the education. That's what.
so did I understand correctly to say that he got an $18,000 increase?
It's right around an $18,000 annual pay raise, yes, ma'am.
So what did that bump him up to?
He's right at 100, almost 166,000.
166?
I think that that's right. It's been a while since I've seen it. Forgive me, I don't remember for sure, but yes, it was a $16,000 to an $18,000 annual pay raise.
And do you have any idea, assuming that the 166 is correct, do you have any idea how that compares with other schools approximately the same size?
It's on par for the other districts. And the districts in the community are similar in size, the pay is similar, and our grade level proficiency is also similar. I haven't tracked to see if those other districts awarded a significant or a similar pay raise in the same time period. I don't know the answer. But he is on par with the other districts of similar size.
Sure. And I want to make sure everybody got this. It's okay. I just have follow-ups. I was going to ask you, and I want to give you the same opportunity. Administration, that was actually on my list to say, how do you feel about the proportion going to the budget, salaries going to administration versus rank and file teachers?
Okay. The federal budget for the Cameron School District is what is it, less than 7%?
Yes, I think that.
And
Yes.
almost 25 to 30% of the paperwork requirements are the federal requirements. And again, I'm look from the outside looking in, I don't know what can be done, but if we're only getting 7% of the budget, but 30% of the paperwork is going to comply with that 7%. I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
And to you, Mr. Landon.
Completely agree with everything, Heath Gilbert just said. I'll give you another example though, of where we can draw some money. Okay. The Missouri Gaming Commission was formed in, help me out, Andy, the mid-90s, right? Gambling came to Missouri, was authorized, and it was sold to the public on this is going to your schools, this is going to help your kids, well, and everything's gonna be sunshine and lollipops, right? Okay, well, the state of Missouri pulled a fast one on us, folks. Okay, imagine that. The Gaming Commission, with all the money, the millions, billions of dollars pouring into the state from the gambling and all the different forms of that, okay, was supposed to go to education, right? And so that was gonna swell the budget for the state's education. However, right, and like politicians like to do, okay, they got their hands in this, and they thought, okay, well, we can keep our word and still get our hands on this money. They will still put the gaming money, right, the gambling money in this pot for education. But then we're gonna draw our money that we had in there out and reallocate that and use it in other places. And so it's a switcheroo. We didn't gain anything. Now, we think we did, they say we did, but we didn't gain anything. They just pulled a switcheroo, put their money into, put new money in, took their money out, and we didn't really gain anything.
Second question for both of you. Obviously, we have a federal Department of Education, state Department of Education, and then the local, which should be the most important. Correct. I hear a lot of people running for board, not just here, but other school boards, that want to talk about putting a foot down, doing things the way we want to do them locally. But so many of those things are tied to funding. Correct. And there are mandates. Now, hopefully Missouri is a little better than some states in the values, but some of these things are mandated from the state. How, when we don't want to do something, we don't want to comply, but we risk funding. It's easy to say, you're going to say no and stick to it. When they hold the purse strings, how do you do that?
It's been a few years since I've looked at it, but I was 8 or 10 years ago, forgive me, I don't remember for sure. There is as much as 20% of the curriculum that the local school district can set on their own and still comply with the rest of the state. And that probably has changed since I looked into it then. But if there's a 20% wiggle room where we can change the curriculum to address the kids in elementary that can't read, because if they leave elementary and they can't read the rest of the time in the school district, they're not getting the education. I had a meeting with Matt Robinson, the superintendent, recently, and he admitted that through the 5th grade, kids are typically learning how to read. After the 5th grade, they're reading to learn. So if they leave the 5th grade and don't know how to read at grade level, every grade from that point forward, they're going to fall further and further and further behind. And if that 20% is still there and it's still available, we need to take advantage of that, still continue to meet the state requirements, the federal requirements, to get the funding so that we can continue to operate and still pay the staff.
What if that mandate was bathroom? What if it were something like that?
A bathroom that's in
The gender bathroom concerns that have been all across the country. These biological males and females bathroom.
then I would throw a fit. I absolutely would. I would prefer, instead of allowing a boy to go into the girls' bathroom, bathrooms will be built single-use rooms, and every child can go in, they can have their own dignity, they can have their own privacy, and they can use the bathroom safely. That's the route that I'm
Again, we didn't start saying that. But back to your point, Jamie, about, the legislation and things. Look, again, this is about accountability. Yeah, we can bring these ideas to the board. And like he said earlier, we just won maybe hopefully 2 votes, not the majority, but we can bring awareness to the public at board meetings, at, you know, in the press, and on Facebook. And that's really what I envision, because right now, even if it's something political, we don't have any control over what goes on in Jeff City, right? But again, we can make the public aware with enough outcry from the public, they may start listening. So it's not that we actually can change it ourselves, but we can promote change by informing the public. And that's, again, I would love to be, affect that kind of have that kind of impact on change. Again, there's not a lot we can do on a lot of things, hands are tied, but, and this is why you don't make promises. You promise to try, you don't promise the results, because we don't have a lot of control over that stuff. But, we can darn sure, promise that we're gonna try, and then, again, learn about.
All right, my second question for both of you. You guys came on the W Radio Show podcast several times. And each time you came on the podcast, you mentioned the sunshine law. Okay? I assume you both are real familiar with it. I would like for you to explain, if you get in office, how are you going to use the sunshine law in order for positive communications with the parents and your position? Your boss.
I'll let you go first with this one.
Okay. The sunshine law, and I'm glad I brought my phone. See, I'm not taking pictures. It's chapter 610 in the revised statutes. And like I said, I wouldn't remember that. But anyway, if you go to chapter 610, it gives definitions, it gives all the parameters about the law, what govern, and it governs political bodies, public bodies, city councils, county commissions, school boards, things like that, public bodies. And so it's a rule book for how we are to operate, or that they are to operate. And so that is the essence of the sunshine law. What was the question again?
How would you use it as positive between you and parents?
And education. I mean, the parents need to know this. And Heath and I, well, speaking for myself, when I teamed up with Heath, I didn't know any of this. And I'm telling you folks, I'm embarrassed to say, but I'll say it because it's true. I haven't been to a school board meeting my whole life until a year ago, when we found the dirty books in the library. And that's when I became concerned, because look, no news is good news. At least the way I look at school boards. My kids are grown; they're no longer in school, so I just turned a blind eye to the school. My taxes go there, but it's compulsory, right? So I just okay, fine, and I go about my life. I didn't think I had a vested interest in what's going on in school. And you leave it to the professionals, right? You trust these folks because they are the professionals. This is their life, this is their job. And so I just assumed that everything was fine because I didn't hear any bad news, any rumors. And so I was never involved until a year ago. And then I've been regularly, right? We're wearing out our welcome on these school boards. That's okay. So we told ourselves, and that's what the public has to do. But I would love to actually get them started on this. As a matter of fact, we would be doing in September at the school library in Cameron here. We had a little training seminar, and we invited all the pastors in the area to come out because we wanted the pastors to educate the pastors about these dirty books, and how they got in, and how they get them out, and then carry this out to their congregations. That didn't work out so well. The pastor didn't want to get too involved in this stuff, so we just opened it to the public, and members of the public came in. We educated them. We had handouts and everything else. We gave packets to the public. Because again, it's about education. If enough people in the public get mad about any issue, yeah, they can change. They can put enough political pressure to affect change. And so that's how I would use the sunshine law.
The sunshine law is the avenue for the public to ensure accountability in the government and to see what it is that they are doing. So through the sunshine law, I would be able to, I am currently, I have pending sunshine law request in with the school district now. I can access records to see what it is that they're doing. I too, in the last year and a half, have learned what the sunshine law is and have become familiar with it. I have gotten very familiar with it, and I have developed the Cameron School District into compliance with Sunshine Law. I continue on the board to ensure that all the meetings, and all of the discussions that were held were in compliance with Sunshine. If it's something that needed to be discussed in front of the public, as I stand before them nearly every month now and demand accountability, I will do so as a member of the board. I would throw a fit and say, you can't do this. This has to be done in an open meeting in front of the public.
I believe, if I'm correct, about sunshine law, because I had to use it before myself. The other time is very law allows the public entity to hold closed door meeting because it concerns people, particularly employee issues. Other than that, it has to be.
Employee, student,
Yeah.
legal matter, or contract type thing, if they're discussing contracts, if they're looking at hiring, firing, all of those things can and are done in closed session. But if they're discussing a policy about the books, they can't do that in a closed session. It has to be in the open session. And that, unfortunately, the Cameron School District has done that. And the records show so.
One thing on sunshine law, because it does involve newspapers a lot. Discussion, books or not. And that's something that a lot of, correct.
I'll give you a example. I just recently settled a lawsuit with the Cameron School District, a federal lawsuit for a violation of my first and 14th Amendment. They voted in the closed session to ignore my demand letter. Now that the lawsuit is over, or even before the lawsuit was over, I have to request a copy of that vote. Because it's done in closed session, they have to do a roll call. So we can see the name of every person on the board and how they vote on any issue. That is correct.
All right. Some teachers, this is from the parents I talked to, and no reason to talk. Some teachers are using their own political views, opinions, and agendas in the classroom, confusing students when they go home to what their parents, guardian, etc. tell them. If you're in the school board, what's your role? What are you going to do to ensure that the curriculum is laid out? It's on. I have one too.
You want to?
I will absolutely take this one because I want to raise a stake. Yeah, you know. When I went to school, I didn't know the beliefs of any of my teachers. I didn't know what they did in their off time. I didn't know who they were dating. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know what their politics were. They came in, they taught me, and they read it. I believe that that is exactly what our teachers today should be doing. The teachers are not there. The teachers are not there to befriend the kids. They're not there to be the buddies and their pals. They are there to be an authoritative figure and to instruct the kids and teach the kids. It is not the responsibility of the teachers to raise those kids. And yes, and
Yeah, completely agree. And I had a thought, it just like, repeat the question, please. It'll come back.
All right. Some teachers are using their own personal politics, views, and opinions in the classroom, confusing the children. So when the children go home, they have to refuse the conflicts with the parents. What do you?
Well, again, see, it came back. Again, this is one of the benefits for cameras in the classrooms. Because if a kid comes home and they said, they report to their folks, hey, I heard this, or teacher said that, and if it strikes a chord with the parents that maybe that's not right, or, then the parent's gonna call the principal, and have a meeting, set up a meeting, okay, my child said this, is this what's going on? And the parent will, a diligent parent will investigate. And the video, will be, invaluable to an investigation. And we're not talking about the crime of the century knocking over banks or anything, but still to a parent, whose kid may come home and say something about transgenderism, or say something about, Donald Trump, or, orange man bad and all that garbage. Okay, so, if that, again, And like he said, that doesn't belong in the classroom. That's not part of the agenda. Right? So, so again, the cameras would be invaluable to go back, just rewind the video, see what happened. You can hear it, right? Audio, video, and then that would be the purpose of that, and so it protects the students and it protects the teachers. Because what if the kid made this up? What if the kid's lying? Kids tell stories, right? We all tell stories.
Yes.
So it is a benefit to both sides. And so that's why I'm staunchly in support of the cameras in the classroom. And I think that, again, it would benefit the local parties. And again, it would also help the principals because they're responsible for their building, right? And so the teachers answer the principals. It would help him, because I know principals do walkthroughs. They mentioned that the other day at school board. They do a walkthrough, right? And they sit in the classroom in the back of the class and watch the teacher. Okay, but the teacher knows the teacher can be on good behavior for just, and again, man, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but I know I'm not. I say teachers, I'm really not picking on teachers. I'm really not. But in this particular scenario, it's important to get to the bottom of it, to get to the truth, and the truth is best told by me.
An objective record. It's not subjective anymore.
On the bus, if there's yeah, my husband's bus driver is having this, but we're both retired and we have. But he's a school bus driver. And very popular with his kids. But they've had cases where a child, a brand new bus, first day out, and the boy had a box knife and started just raping the school. Parents said, no, we wouldn't do that. That didn't happen. And which they had when there is a problem on the school bus, and there are quite a few on the school bus, the manager sits and looks at the camera and tells the parents what's going on. If a parent wants to see it, they have to have the permission of other parents whose students were around that particular. They can't just show it to anybody, not even the parent of the child, because they have the parents have to prove their children being seen by someone else. So those things are to be only by the manager. And if the child is right, they didn't do it, somebody else did, that's all that counts.
I don't remember which one of you said it, but you feel that school should not be an experience.
That's it.
Why isn't life an experience?
Yes.
Isn't working an experience? Isn't a vacation an experience? So why can't school be an experience?
Good question. And maybe, I see your point, and I agree. We want our kids to have a good time in school because I've had fun, and they're, and not just fun, but if they're enjoying their high school years or their school years, and we want our kids to look forward to going to school, to enjoy school, to like their teachers, and like their friends. That's not what I'm talking about. See,
It shouldn't be the primary.
right. My point is that I feel that the school is putting more emphasis on the kids' experience than they are on their academics.
They should have a good experience. It should be enjoyable. They shouldn't hate going to school. But the taxpayers and parents don't send money to the school district and their kids to the district to go and have a good time. That is part of it. But the reason that they're really there and the reason that every house, every piece of property within the district has to give money to the district is to educate the child. And that has to be the priority. Other things, yes, they should have fun. Yes, it should be enjoyable. Yes, it should be a building that is attractive and we can be proud of. All of those things are true. But when 60% of the kids can't read at grade level, we've got to look at what is our priority here. Is it the Performing Arts Center that cost $8.7 million that a small fraction of the kids are really going to use? Or does it need to be every child needs to walk out of that district as a senior and graduate in the life?
Yeah. That's right.
Sorry. I have one more
Go ahead. Wonderful.
question. About teacher pay.
Yes, sir.
Should teachers be graded on the merits of the performance of their students. Oh, my. We got all kinds of opinions. You want to go first?
I'll go first. I say no, because then what happens, the teachers start teaching the test to the kids with the intent of a good score, because their salary is based on the kids' score. So I say,
So we shouldn't expect better teachers that get more kids through successfully, make better readers. We shouldn't expect them to make more than teachers that are not as good. Because we all know we have better teachers than us. Should that not be determined by?
well, yes and no. I mean, you offer incentives, right? You can offer incentives. But I'm leery about, basing salary pay on, finished product, on end product. Because it's kind of what's going on now, right? The schools get money for kids that graduate. And, and then they brag about their success rate, their graduation rate. Currently, Cameron's in the top 20 of all the schools in Missouri, which looks good again. But until you break down the numbers and open up the books, things aren't so good. So I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword, but I lean more towards not doing it.
I'm not comfortable with it for a few reasons. First off, we have a teacher in the room. She's at Cameron's Middle School.
I'm not a teacher.
I'm sorry, you're at the middle school level? Okay. So a teacher, it can be the absolute best teacher in the world. And she has her curriculum that's lined out by the state, by the federal government here. She gets a fresh batch of students that walk into her classroom. If those kids are 2 or 3 or 4 grade levels behind, and you tie that pay directly to to the score initially, that teacher is not going to do well, because she's going to have to try to catch up those students in 2 or 3 years to be able to get there. And this, later on though, I think that would be a great idea. However, the math testing that we currently do it's not accurate. It is accurate, but it's not a good look at truly what our test scores are. The proficiency rating and the test scores that go with the math test and everything that they do is an absolute mess. I don't know what the standard would look like, but absolutely, I would love to see a teacher that excels at their job to be paid more than somebody that's merely clocking in every day to collect their wages. And that's not a majority of the teachers, but that is true in any industry that you go into, whether it is a nurse or a mechanic. There are guys that show up and girls that show up, put their heart into it, and do more than is required of them. They should be able to be compensated accordingly. And if somebody merely shows up, clocks in, does the absolute minimum, they should be paid as well as the person that put in their soul.
What's your thought on a 4-day school week?
I don't think that the parents would like it. Most of the parents use the school district as a babysitting system. And then parents would need to take a day off of work to be home to be with that child. And honestly, I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I agree, but I question. See, I mean, and I agree with everything he said, but is it really worth it? I mean, what are the real benefits? I haven't seen the stats. I haven't really looked into it. So, but I think it's something we should, because it's going to come up. I just saw on the news the other night, Independence, I think, the school in Independence did this. They went to, for a 5-day week, 4-day week school. Now the news spun this as, hey, it's a great deal. The kids love it, teachers love it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's the news. I take everything I feel to be a great salt, but I'm just not sure that. I mean, I'd have to do a comparison. Plus the versus minuses.
I would need to know more too much.
I'm kind of shifting gears here, and I just wondered if there are any stats available. I don't know a lot of people that have school age kids, just because I'm not a Cameronite. But are there any stats that show how many kids have left this school district, just say in the last year? Because I do know 3 or 4 families that have taken their kids out of school, put them in the new school out at Passion Church or in the Osborne school, or taken them out Are there any stats that show, have we lost 20 kids, 5 kids, what?
We could find that through a sunshine law request. I don't know what those numbers are, and I would imagine that the school district doesn't want to advertise that. So you would have to go and ask, and you have to pay them to file that record, but they can tell you, you could submit, for example, a request to the custodian of records asking how many kids transferred from Cameron to either Osborne or one of the nearby cities. They can tell you that. They couldn't tell you why, they couldn't tell you who, but the raw numbers of how many, absolutely that could be made available in the census.
I wonder how that would number would compare to students that have moved to the district from those other districts that have come to Cameron.
Yes,
What-
ma'am, you can find that the same way. I don't know the answer to that.
Chapter 610. I'm telling you, 610 is where it's at.
As you all know, it's been all over the news, unfortunately, for the last 12 years. Hard. We're talking about school street. Okay. And you guys and I've been friends for a while, gun owners and responsible owners. Okay. What are you guys' stance on the teachers being on the school board? But I want to know your stance on their opinion, if they want to be, back if they don't.
So if the teacher
Teachers,
wants to do it,
Yeah.
it comes to us as a board member, say, I'd like to.
because it's a big issue.
Sure. Yeah, with proper training, I'd say go for it. And again, we would be, I'd say we, assuming I'm elected board, we would be responsible for saying, you got to establish a policy and a program, it's got all, then you got to run it through the lawyers, right? Make sure it's all legal, and the insurance is going to have something to say about it. So it's not just an easy, yes, you can bring a gun tomorrow. You got to have to establish a process and follow through. But I would be for it. And here's why, folks. Some knucklehead walks into a classroom and with a gun, with the intent of shooting people. It does, maybe they've got a designated target, maybe they don't. But anybody, a good person, I call them a good guy, right? Whether it's teacher, police officer, another parent, well, no, a parent would probably be put back in school, but any good guy with a gun is better than no good guy with a gun. And even if it's so you put the teachers through training, right? And, and that includes firing range, familiarization, and tearing down the gun, putting it back together. And so that way they're comfortable in using it. Teachers in the classroom with guns are your first line of defense. Yes. To protect children. The police officer, the cops will be there, but it may be 5 minutes, it may be 10 minutes, right? And so, you need a good guy with a gun as soon as you can get them.
Absolutely. And we protect our most valuable treasures in this world with firearms everywhere in the United States that we go. Our most valuable people, our presidents, our governors, they're all protected with firearms. They're protected with firearms for a reason. You need somebody right there that is trained with a firearm to be able to protect those individuals. My child is my most valuable treasure in the world. If a teacher undergoes the training and wants to carry a firearm, and they have a system set up at school where they monitor the training and they ensure that the training is current and they are in compliance with whatever rules they have, absolutely. A sign outside of the school district that says gun-free zone, puts a target on that school. Take that gun-free zones sign down, put a sign up that says armed staff on premises. You're going to go to the next school.
He's so elegant. I love him.
Somebody.
All right, thanks.
I just wanted to say that I told you before that I was a nurse, I worked in psychiatry. And I would suggest that if that ever comes before the board, that the chief is seeking to have arms, and I agree, somebody should be there. But those that are seeking, whoever they are, because teachers, everybody, we're all human beings, we all have arms. We're all fallible. So anybody wanting to be armed in school should be tested to have emotional maturity and stability to be able to handle the situation. It's amazing how many people take first aid classes and then faint at the first sign of blood.
You're right.
And so the same thing might happen in a shooter situation with someone who, I've had the training, I know what to do with it, happens not, you're firing all of it. So, I would say a psychiatric eval would be a partner for that's.
I'm not one of the candidates on that, but I'm on counter. I want to ask you a question. Our veterans who come straight out of the military, some of them have been in combat, like me, for example, okay? I take a test, I'm thankful, because of so-called people's standards. But if I threat to shoot somebody, I'm to defend my house, right? That's about my family. So what would you say to a person, a veteran, who's come out of the military, got PTSD, bipolar mood depression, and you tell him he can't have a gun, he can't have a gun bearing replacement. He's trained. He or she, they're trained. Right? What would you think? What would you say about that?
Well, if I understood this, I can't.
Right.
And so I'm trying to read
I'm
what
in it.
you're talking. I think you're saying if somebody comes out of the military
Mhm.
and they're suffering PTSD,
Right.
and they want to carry a gun to school, is that it? What you think about it?
No, what I'm saying is, you said it has to have a complete psych evaluation, okay? I'm just saying, if a veteran comes out, right? Most veterans are messed up. They really, especially in combat, right? Are you saying they need to have a psych before they have a gun?
I'm saying they're going to be in the school.
Yeah.
And nobody, I have tremendous respect for our vets.
I'm not jumping, I'm just asking, I'm trying to see where you're at. I'm just asking.
Yeah, simply, having worked in psychiatry, and when I was working, and I didn't deal with anybody who had PTSD, but I did with a lot of people that
I didn't mean to hijack it.
Yeah.
This is everything. I'm sorry. I just want to ask you. Ma'am.
So all three of my kids went to Cameron School, started in preschool and Head Start all the way up to their senior year, all three of my kids. I knew a teacher who was a veteran, loved the teacher, great teacher. As a parent, I felt better having my kids in that classroom, knowing the teacher's training because they were a military veteran. That's what I trusted more than that teacher or any teacher to have a gun. Then this is my question too. So teacher is approved, does the process, gets all that, they get to carry their weapon. What's gonna stop a kid that gets mad to come up and rush that teacher and take their weapon and shoot up the whole place? Or what if the teacher who was carrying a weapon decides for whatever reason to go crazy for a minute and they decide to shoot up the place?
Okay. First off, it has to be concealed. And it can't be known to the entire community who is carrying it. If they know who's carrying the firearm, you're right, it's going to put a target on the kid to go looking for. It has to be concealed carry. It cannot be general knowledge, it cannot be public knowledge. Who it is that is carrying, it just needs to be known that there is staff on the property that has a firearm. And I've not looked at what the policy would look like. I've never looked at a policy for another district that does it, but they would have to have staff that's paying attention or administrators that's paying attention to their staff. If Heath is a teacher and Heath is going through an ugly divorce and then we need to go in and say, Heath, you need to surrender your concealed carry card for the school district for a duration. The school is going to have to be proactive. It's not as soon as you get your card to carry on the school property as an employee, that you still need to undergo scrutiny, still need to undergo training. If something's going on that is concerning, then they need to lose that privilege for a while.
I think of the veteran thing, I particularly that veteran with PTSD, I think that's.
Anyone else?
On this gun free zone, where I think the worst thing you can do is put a sign up and say gun free. Because that proves that the guy mistakenly had a gun, had a permit and everything, but went into a store and said gun free zone, and no gun. And for some reason, some of those guys started shooting. Hadn't been for that one guy, he'd killed him.
Right, right, yeah.
Earlier this year, I think.
that's right. I mean, if you put a gun free, it's just, he doesn't fight people get very good. I think it's, but your counts, you know. Let me ask you a question. Think about this real quick. I'm sorry.
No.
How many times have you heard somebody walk into a police station and shoot it up? It ain't because of wearing badges. It's what's on their hip or what they got in the closet. Just saying. Just saying.
Again, there's a difference between a police station and a school.
Yes.
Well, no, what I'm saying though is, they see the gun, they're like, "Oh, you know what, I'm not gonna shoot him, he's got a gun to shoot back."
It's a
A school, nobody's got a gun. This is easy target. I can eat a sandwich, drink a Coke, and kill a ticket. You can kill a ticket at the police station. Because they don't check. But what's a tech police station?
It should be a strict standard.
There's no way, there's none of this. No way to police stations, because police have guns. Here, this one.
This was on a TV show. It was Dr. Phil, and he had a room full of students, and he was telling them that every school shooter, the students that comes in, he tells several people before he goes to do this. And so, most of the schools, somebody in the school knew it. In fact, one school, there were 3 kids stayed home because they knew he was going to do that day. So they tried to tell the kids, don't teach you. You're saving their lives. You're helping them. If you tell somebody at school that this is going to happen. And that was could be a big thing to help them.
Well, we can't get away from that, that's another hot topic. Let's go to another hot topic. Okay, one started on fist fights around and make people mad at each other. You guys have been staunch advocates for the getting rid of dirty books in school. Okay? And I never heard you say ban things. There's a difference here, guys. Ban things, they don't really work. You ban pit bulls, they stop biting? Your dogs stop biting? No, okay. You want to do a good stuff. Talk to us about when you get in there, how much pressure, how much force you're going to use to get these logged properly and removed.
Where to begin, right? Okay, here's what I'll say. Again, we're in the minority. Okay, if elected, Heath and I are in the minority. But again, we can bring light to the problem. We can be the advocate for the public, for the moms and dads that don't want their kids to be exposed to this garbage. And that's, I think, our primary role at that point, because we don't have any leverage on the board. We can't really influence, strong arm, you might say, both. But we can present this to the public. And again, as public servants, right, we work for you, right? And again, this lady had a good point. I keep referring to taxpayers, parents, but teachers are parents and taxpayers, right? I mean, it's all inclusive. And so it's not any one group. We serve all, and that would be our job as school board members, public servants. So, yeah, we could just bring light to the situation. We can make recommendations to the board, and he was a videographer. And what a great thing to do. So far, I mean, go to the website, look at our stuff. But he is very articulate, and he explains the problems and the solutions, and he'll attach videos to and give you examples of some of the smut in these books. And so the point is, we can publicize, we can bring attention to the problem, and with enough attention, I'm telling you, with enough people in the community raising cane, come to school board meetings, right? And demonstrate their discipline. I think we can affect it.
The Cameron School District has known about the book issue, with the books that are in school since August of 2022. They've sat on it, knowing that the problem existed. They were hoping that nobody in the community would find books. They've been ignoring the issue. The school board has now had more than a year to do something to seriously address the book issue. Not a single school board member at any one of the meetings that we have been in there reading that filth to them has made a public comment about the books, whether they belong in the district or not, or what it is that they propose that the district do to remove those books or to prevent more books from coming in. Dan and I, if members of the Board of Education would use that holy pulpit at the end of the meeting where they ask for board member comments, to bring it up again at every board meeting, make a motion to create a policy to regulate the books that are in our schools. The Cameron School District has a policy for their computers that is very strict, that will not allow the kids to read dirty words on a computer or on the school district's internet. Those same words that they cannot read on a computer, they can go to the library, sit down and read. It's a double standard. If one is wrong, if the computer is wrong, then the book is wrong. And Dan and I, if you've been to any of the board meetings or seen our videos for a year now, we have been saying the same thing. Getting a seat at the table, we would have more opportunity. And we could push more on the inside than we could.
And to piggyback on that, Heath is right, because at the end of every school board, right, the members, they go around the table, right, asking every member individually, any thoughts, any words, right? And so, what a great time. See, but currently, no one will do this. No one has the courage. Now, they may privately go home and say, yeah, that looks nasty, you know, I don't want to read that book. But they won't say it publicly. They work for us. That's their job, you know? And so, you know, hey, we want to kick them out of office. We want to take over. We want to fix the problem.
Well, I know, it's, why do you need very much in school in the first place?
Good, great question. We don't know the answer to that because they won't tell us. Well, there's a lot of excuses. Okay, they've got educational value and blah, blah, blah. Then they might be therapeutic for some kids who've experienced similar situations. It's, in my opinion, it's garbage. And we need to hammer that at the school board meetings, in public, not behind closed doors, in public.
It's a kind of a statement and a question. Recently, I don't remember if it was the state that started again. I don't know if it was Minnesota or Montana. 2 high school female athletes were injured at a volleyball game because they were playing against a team where a couple of the other students who were born male decided that they identified as female and got on the team. And because of the differences in size and power, 2 were seriously injured. I'm asking because I don't know, I haven't had kids in public school for a long time, but I'm curious, what role does the local school board play in the policies regarding transgender athleticism? Is this something that the Missouri State Athletic Association decides? How much role and power does the school board have in that? And if so, if you were elected, what would be your role and stand on the issue?
They go,
Okay, my understanding of the state is they are restricted to whatever it says on the birth certificate. So if they're a biological female, they can only participate in female sports in the state of Missouri. I would, of course, I feel strongly about it. Biological men do not belong in any athletic event with biological females. And I would fight against it. And at the point that it became required, we would have a third category, boys, girls, and
Thank you for your response.
and not just sports, but locker rooms too. Bathrooms, locker rooms, all that. It's all the same.
Thank you.
Well, folks, I think you guys have encouraged others for whatever reason. And I think it says about this, it's often been said, our democracy depends on every generation. Every generation has to keep it going. And the biggest threat to our democracy is private property.
yes.
And I think we see.
One more thing though about this event and the invites to the other candidates. Again, we failed to confirm that they received the notice. We sent it out assuming that they would receive it, you know, and then make their own decision. But we didn't confirm. And that's on us. And we'll take responsibility for that. So apologies to the other candidates who may not have known.
But not all of them have something else to do.
And I would be more than happy to debate any of these issues with them. I have been deep in the school district for 15 or 16 months now. I've been at nearly every meeting of the property. I have gone through policy after policy and state law. I believe that I have a firm grasp that I'm more than happy to sit down and debate.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that the Clinton County leader has reached out to some of the folks on the other side and asked if we need to have a debate with everyone. So I'm waiting for.
Oh, outstanding. Yes, please. Yes.
Did the two of you, we'd love to get your contact, your personal contact information so that we can have any follow-up questions.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
And for anyone who, the capital, for anyone who didn't make it here today, if you want to come and express what you're saying, Tuesday night, 6 p.m., there'll be a radio show. That's all. Have you guys on? We're unbiased. You come on and talk about what you're doing, express your concern. Same thing without being to do. I've allowed ministers, I've allowed other politicians as well to come on my show and talk. So the door's open to them. They want to come on before, what's it, April 2nd? Before April 2nd. So we'll do it. And that just now goes to Missouri. It goes, I'll go all around the globe. Okay, so they want to do what they do. What do you guys, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have one. I know since all this started, policies have changed with the board, and we've not been able to, we've been silenced. Like every 3 months,
Yes,
you know, we bring up a topic, and then we can't talk about it until 3 months later. I want to know what your thoughts are, and if that's a policy you want to change.
Sorry.
I was just saying, I just feel like as parents, as teachers, as citizens of Cameron, we're not able to address our concerns.
I agree with you entirely. And I'm a very strong constitutional. We need to return to the principles of what the Constitution is. We are having all the laws. What the Constitution says. The first
And one more thing that they did, they make us set up a meeting with the superintendent prior to the school board, meeting. And the purpose is, they tell us, is because they want us to, basically, we have to ask permission to talk about certain subjects.
Yes.
As a
As
They
a-
were letting you scream.
as a parent, a person of the public.
Yes, as a John Q citizen, right? Correct. Whatever your concern is, you have to schedule an appointment with the superintendent, which is at his office in the school. And you have to present your case, why you want to talk about, say, I want to talk about basketballs. Okay, I've got a problem with the basketballs that I don't like. And so, I have to explain to him why. I want to talk about, because I want to address this to the open school board, the next week or the next 2 weeks, right? And so he can shut me down and say, no, 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 Mr. Laney, we don't have a problem with basketball. No, I don't think there's a problem. There. No, you can't talk about it. He has the authority to shut me down.
So I agree that as a citizen or a parent, if I want to bring a subject before the school board to discuss at the school board meeting, instead of submitting something in writing saying I want to be on the agenda or addressing it in public participation, I have to request a meeting with the superintendent, discuss the issue with him, and he will allow me to or not to discuss that at the school board
Exactly right.
meeting.
And he has up to 20 business days in which to meet with you. So.
From the time of your request
Yes,
to answer, how long before he answers you?
he has 20 business days after you request the meeting with the superintendent in which to meet with you before you get to decide if you get to address the Board of Education. Now, in his defense, typically, we're getting those appointments within a week. But the way that the law is structured and the policy is written, they can put us off for a month if they wanted to.
But that's not the sunshine law. Sunshine law, as you know, is 72 hours.
Did I say sunshine?
No, no, you didn't say that, but what I'm saying is this is their policy. This is nowhere near sunshine law.
No.
As far as I know. Sorry, that's for all.
Okay. I know that some of the other schools in this area do not have a book in the library on the shelf, on the camera. I think I'm correct in that. So now, once the books are on the shelf, it's not going to be that easy to get those books out of the library and off. But now you're going to have to deal with a lot of legalities, the ACLU, blah, 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 blah. How are you going to navigate those waters? Because you've got a heck of a battle in front of you.
Well, and you're right. It's a heck of a battle with several fronts. Okay, one of the fronts is there is no policy to keep new books from coming in, new flood books. Okay, that's one front. The other front is they don't have we suggested a rating system let me back up. Okay, we don't know how many books are in violation of Missouri state law, pornography law, 573.550. We don't know how many books are in violation of that law because the school doesn't know how many books are in violation of that law. They have responsibility to purge those books, to do an inventory of all their books and remove the ones or segregate the ones that were in violation of that statute.
And did they ban you from the library so that you could?
Well, right, so we offered to help. Hey, let us come in on a Saturday. We'll come in on a Saturday under supervision, right? And we'll go through the books for you or we'll help you. So that's another front. They won't let us in the library. So we don't, I'm telling you folks, we have a serious transparency problem and accountability problem. And this is our main focus for wanting to get elected.
I have to ask.
So that they're prepared, they can have their statement ready to read after I've done addressing.
Is there a public participation or like a lot of times at city council meetings, you'll have like a 5-minute before or after where public can come in and ask questions and there is none of that then at the board meeting?
Very, very little. Items for consideration, is that word correct? On the agenda, which, is by law, they have to print out and, before the meeting, so the public can see what the topics of the session are. there's a small section that usually towards the bottom, at the end of the meeting, and it's called items for consideration. And it could be anything. I mean, they decide, the board decides what goes under that category. So whether it's, you know, the new gym floor or whatever, right? They decide, and whatever 2 or 3 things that are on that list, those are the only things that John Q. Citizen can step up and comment about.
So as John Q. Citizen, I cannot attend this meeting. And without prior meeting with the superintendent with authorization, I may not address the school board members about the subject.
That's right.
Unless it's.
And gain discussions, and you have to be a resident.
That's another. Right.
Right.
Go ahead, and have-
No, that's a good point, good point. Yeah, and they restrict, speech to only people that live in the district. So you can be a business owner and pay taxes to the school, but live outside the district, and they don't want to hear from you.
And you only get 5 minutes every 3 months to talk about the sexual books in the library. That's all they're giving.
But can they address it before that 90 days?
Absolutely. They
So
are,
they could go through
Would maybe pass their rules and laws to address those issues before the person who addressed the issue in the first place from the public can come in and talk about it.
so right now, since December, in each board meeting, the superintendent has come out with this is a whole mess with the sunshine law. They have a book review committee supported by the Board of Education consisting of 3 or more personnel, but they're not complying with the sunshine law. So they're meeting in secret. They're not recording the votes. They're not sharing records of the votes. But in each board meeting, the superintendent has an update to the book review committee findings, and he presents the recommendation of the committee to the board, but the board doesn't vote on the recommendations to adopt them, and the recommendations don't comply with their school district policy. So yes, if any meeting that they want to discuss votes, they have that opportunity.
And that committee answers to the superintendent.
The superintendent is on the committee.
the one.
This-
And then he is their representative, he is their liaison to the board.
Yes, ma'am. And he provides the update from the committee to the board in direct violation of the Missouri Sunshine. Yes, ma'am.
Is the committee made up of the ones that allowed the books in there in the first place?
Used to be. Used to be, yes.
When it first started out, it was the ones that allowed the books in there in the first place. They were the books review committee.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. So the people that put the books in the library were on the committee to determine whether the
They
books.
should be in there.
Do you know the dates that those books were allowed in?
Yes, ma'am.
So you know who was on the committee that allowed those books?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the current superintendent?
Yes, ma'am.
He had to sign off on them.
Yes.
My question was, I'm under the understanding that sometimes librarians or school districts can apply for grants that will buy books for the library, and those books have to be handled differently if they're purchased with grant money rather than being purchased with taxpayer funds. And is it harder to get the books that were purchased with grants off the shelves than it is versus the argument that this was paid with tax dollars and the citizens don't want it versus the argument of it was paid for with grant, it's not your money?
Good question.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if they get grant money for the books. However, the policy applies to the purchase of a book, whether it is a donation, grant dollar, or tax dollar.
Okay.
The same policy applies.
Speaking of books, let me tell you this. You got me started, sorry.
That's all.
Listen to this. Okay, so in the December, I believe it was December, please correct me if I'm wrong. You read them. No, sir, I'm good. Thank you. In the December school board meeting, I had, well, prior to the meeting, I had a person contact me and asked me if there were any Bibles in the school. And we looked it up. But this person wanted to donate Christian to the school. The school has a policy about receiving. I'm good, thank you so much. discussed a policy about accepting donations and things like that. So it felt, that, it's authorized. I mean, it's question, basically blessed or whatever, right? But so this donor, this person bought a Christian Bible, a book of Gospels, just on the Gospels, and then two other books, which are like children's books, children's story Bible books, with pictures and so forth. So the intent was, hey, this person gave them to me to give to the school board as a donation. Wants to remain anonymous, and that's okay. So we respect that. So I made this presentation, these at the school board, and asked them to put these in the library. Well, I checked. They're not in the library. I don't know where they are. I haven't asked them yet, but it's coming. And so you're right, and it was specifically with the intent of the children's books going to the two younger grades or schools, and then the gospels going to the middle school, and then the actual Bible itself to the high school, right? Age appropriate.
So do you know if those books went before the review committee to be allowed to
Well,
school?
that's a good question. I don't know, and I'm not sure that the policy mandates that. You would think it would, because.
Well,
they,
you also offered them a bag. They put it in the bag. Miss Peck placed them in the bag, if you remember.
well, I presented them in the bag.
Right. And then you handed the bag to her. They probably lost the bag.
The bag of books.
There's also probably before you got any kind of lawsuit because if they allow Christian literature, they have to allow Islamic literature. They have to allow such.
But they already have Bibles. They already have.
They already have Bibles. Well, so that should not be.
Exactly. That's what this donor thought, and that's what they presented to me. That's what I.
Would you be able to get me a list of those with the names of the actual books?
Sure. I've got a picture of it.
We have video of him giving them to the board too. All right, anybody else?
Maybe one.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I don't know if you can answer this, but, having kids in another school district in the city, they had an SRO, so it was like, provided law enforcement to go into school. And I went to a meeting and found out that, which I used to work with a couple of SROs, working in the division, that person is no longer there, and it was a private person. So I have a question, how do you feel about having somebody that's from the Cameron PD versus somebody that's private?
Oh my, Dan and I have had many conversations about this, and he has more information than I do because he was in law enforcement. If you don't know, the Cameron School District has their own police department. Matt Robinson is in charge of the police department for the Cameron School District. Matt Robinson has these many qualifications to run the police department. We are concerned that there is at least an appearance that the school district is able to turn a blind eye to certain things because they now have the power to investigate themselves. I believe it's a conflict of interest that the school district should be in the business of educating children. They should not be in the business of policing children. Matt Robinson is a very intelligent man. He has many, many qualifications to educate kids. He is not qualified to run police department. And just as an example, I asked him one day a little over a year ago, this Cameron School District does not have a use of force policy for the school resource officer. They don't have a taser use policy, any policy of any kind that governs the conduct of their school resource officer. He looked at me dazed and confused when I asked him if he had any policies. I asked him about a body-worn camera policy. The school district should not be running their own police departments. We should be using an outside agency that is not accountable to the district that can come in and conduct an investigation if we know that it is done without prejudice or any bias because they are not beholden to the school district.
Yes. You say taser, and I have grandchildren in school, so if they don't have a policy and parents aren't aware, what's the training of this person applying a seizure to a child versus an adult. I mean,
We don't know. And
so
because
if he could use that taser on a child
there's no policy that would prohibit it.
and he carries the taser
He does carry
and
it.
he carries a gun.
He carries race too, I think. That's it. I think so.
So that police officer that's working for the school was asked to investigate those books. He claims he read 8 books, so found nothing wrong.
That's right.
And so he comes being run by the school. Run by the school, like you said, this is what's on. They cover up things and do whatever because they're kind of running their own little TV there and doing what they want, whether it's correct or not. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, I set up the discussion I had with the phone for that you could explain what it is. So in March of 23, I went to the school district and went to sat down with the school resource officer. There was one book that I had found at that point, How Beautiful the Ordinary, which I believe violated Missouri Statute 573-550 because it had pictures of genitalia, in it, which is what the state describes as pornography that can't be given to kids. So I went to joint